I'll give my perspective on the approach and the involvement. So at the onset, at the very beginning, there's two consumers involved. One was supposed to play more of a leading role. She was the more experienced consumer. I was the person who knew a lot about systematic reviews, but had never been a co-author in that role. And as you are aware, in working with consumers, sometimes life gets in the way and people have health issues. So I took I took the role of principal knowledge user. So that would be equivalent to being a co-principal investigator on the review. And I have to say, I was very nervous about that. But it was my role on the team was a process of discussion. So Janet and I met for the first time in a coffee shop, and she told me about the project and what they were thinking about doing. And I said right away, I don't want to be involved in literature searches and, extracting data extraction. I'm not really interested in that. And she said, oh, that's not a problem. I'd like to know, what are you interested in doing? So talk that through. And I said, but I'd like to sit in on all those meetings. I'm interested in learning about it. I'm interested in hearing about it, but I'm not interested in doing it. So that was very interesting. So I don't think I missed a single meeting. Our executive team met about every 2 weeks. And it was quite interesting because during those meetings, I would be quite quiet, but then they'd always have a question for me. So they'd find an area where, oh, let's get our perspective on that. So even though I thought that I couldn't really contribute to that area, I think that I did in a certain way, but that's because the team would ask me, questions. And then later, as I became more comfortable, sometimes I would just give my opinion. So, and in the other areas, I contributed, a great deal. And I knew that I was very comfortable in those areas. So the level can really vary in the different stages of the review. And I think researchers have to come prepared of what they're willing to support or able to support, but they have to negotiate with the consumer and have a discussion about what the consumer wants to do. So the enablers, the big enabler for me was that I had a connection with one of the PIs from the onset. So Janet made it clear to me that she was there to support me. She was there to answer my questions. So I didn't have to wait for a team meeting and then, maybe be embarrassed that I didn't understand this and have to ask in front of the other 4 people. And I could just, contact her and, get on the phone quickly or send a quick email and say, I don't understand this. And she would, right away give me an answer. That was really helpful. That was probably one of the best part. That was probably the biggest enabler for me. The other enabler is that when I did make a suggestion, it was welcome. So at one point I said, why don't we use the GRIP2 tool to report on patient involvement in the studies that we're looking at. Great idea. So now the GRIP2 tool is going to be an appendix in the review. And then I said, oh, how about the Project Active framework? So every time I would make a suggestion, it was welcome. So then at the end of the study, near the end, when Janet said, well, we're going to do a realist review, I'm like, yeah, I put my hand up for that too. And that's because all the way through, they've built my capacity and they've given me confidence. And it's really important, to have that. So much confidence that I saw another systematic review that's going to happen in my rare disease area on a topic that's directly related to me. And I was able to contact those authors and say, hey, how about including me on your author team? And they've never done that either. So the capacity building is really important.